But anyway, I digress. But this has been a really great conversation about the type of jobs to pursue remotely. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of doing your research. I've got another question for you. What skills or training are the best to acquire right now with an eye towards a fully remote career? If I'm looking for that remote career path, what should I be doing in the short term while I'm treading water at my current position, or I might be unemployed and I want to be employed in a remote role?
Right, that's a great question, and it's definitely something that relates to everyone, especially people who are out of work and trying to figure out what they can do to kind of help their chances of getting a new position. I think we've discussed this before. You mentioned reading, you like to read job descriptions.
Yeah.
You can find them all over the internet. Go out and check out job descriptions. And if there's another role that maybe you were thinking that you would like to get into, if you wanted to get a little bit more into technology, or if you wanted to maybe get into marketing, check out some of those other job descriptions, really read them and see what skills are required. And, especially of course, positions that say that they're remote, or with companies that are allowing certain positions to be worked remote. In terms of general skills, it's just really important to be a self-starter, someone who's not going to have to call help desk every time they need something done. You need to really, really have basics of using, for instance, the Microsoft Office suite, basic networking skills, learning how to maybe change a file type if you need something to shrink a file so you can email it, or just all of those things that you normally would ask, hey, how do I do this? How can I send this big file? How can I send it safely or encrypt it? All of that type of stuff. If there's no one around and you need to get something done and you can't get a hold of someone to help you because you're at home, you're costing your company money by not producing what needs to be produced. So you just kind of have to be proactive and really kind of develop your own basic IT skills, networking, basic computer skills, learning about cybersecurity, having the knowledge of what may or may not be a good idea. There's even some tests. I forgot the name of the company. If I can remember, I'll post it. But they do little, it's a company you can hire out in California or Florida, and they will do test phishing scams that they'll send out to employees. And it'll be one of those things that says, click here for your paycheck, or something kind of silly, but it appears to come from your employer. But there's little things that you can look for, like when you see something came from Erica Santiago and it's an email, but you actually look at the email address and it says, 1237999, a whole bunch of letters at gmail.com. Well, that's not from Erica. Right. And you really have to kind of get good at just really knowing what risks are out there from a cybersecurity standpoint, learning how to be a self-starter, how to, as we had mentioned it on the last question, setting up your home office properly so that your lighting is good for meetings, your audio visual. Also, a lot of people working from home, they don't set up their office ergonomically, so they end up having these problems where they're just using a little keyboard on a laptop. Even if your employer doesn't pay for it, go spend $30, get an ergonomic keyboard,
or just get a remote keyboard.
Exactly.
My desktop comes with a remote keyboard, but I can use it as a Bluetooth keyboard. I can use it with my laptop and relocate, sit in a different part of the house. If you're one of the things I do with my teenagers that are doing Zoom for high school is if you're in the classroom and the teacher is giving a lecture, well, yeah, you have to be there with your camera on and look attentive. But if you're doing asynchronous work offline, we'll get up, go to a different room, sit out. The weather's nice in Georgia now, so sit outside, because you don't have to have your camera on right now, or even if you do, but you're muted, you can still hear if you've got your, AirPods in your ears. But get up and relocate. That makes a difference as far as just mental health and physical health in sitting in front of the desk all day. So that's a really great thing to point out.
That's a great point. And building on that, not only just getting a headset, but people have been making fun of me for having a home phone for a long time. But I've been working from home. I do hours and hours of phone calls back to back, and I don't necessarily want a headset on me or a hot cell phone. I'm sure you all know if you talk on a cell phone for long enough, it starts to almost catch on fire.
Yes.
So, getting a landline with an actual phone, because they have really good speaker phones, they have clear lines, and you can kind of just place it in front of you, and then you've got your hands free. So some of those things, and having that dedicated landline, you can call into a Zoom meeting. You might not even be on the video part of it, and then
right.
you have your computer free, you have your cell phone free. So if you are getting text messages or WhatsApp messages or emails on your phone about work, you're able to do that, and you're also not having the constant beeps coming in that are causing you to not be able to really understand what people are saying, because every time you get a text or a call or whatever, your phone beeps. So really going that extra mile to set up a really good home office, and then it'll show when you're interviewing, or even if you're working for your own company already, and they just kind of see how well you're doing from home and how seriously you've taken it. If you want to have that work-life balance and work from home and do a good job, then you've got to really go that extra mile and get your setup for success.
Yeah, taking the initiative is such a great idea, David. It's one of the things that you said about just a moment ago about about training, about what it is, the skill sets that you need to learn. All of that's available on YouTube. I mean, we are posting these videos on YouTube, so certainly this is a great starting point. But things that you can search for on YouTube, if you use Zoom, how to use Zoom, and a bunch of videos will pull up with really entertaining people who will tell you all about how to make sure you're using all the best features of Zoom. A lot of these tools, Zoom, Google Meets, come out with new features every 6 months. And so checking out, once you learn it, doesn't mean that's the end of it. There are new features coming out all the time. Microsoft always has had free videos on their website for you to learn from. I put my kids on it periodically as part of their homeschool lessons to make sure that they are learning the different features of Microsoft Excel, learning how to use PowerPoint better. And so the resources are there. A lot of times people don't realize that they can take the initiative and look for it. So thank you for pointing that out, that just doing a search online on YouTube, you can find out how to set up a home office. You can find out how to use Zoom or Google Meets or Microsoft tools. You can find out how to do all of the things that you need to do, how to avoid phishing scams. And one of the things that's important about phishing scams is, as you said, there's the easiest thing to do is to simply look and see where that email address is coming from. That it's not really someone's, the person's actual email address. That's the other thing that also shows up in those phishing scams is oftentimes there are typos, like really obvious typos.
Right.
So,
poor grammar and grammar errors on an email coming from Microsoft
or Bank of America.
Yeah, it just doesn't really happen with those companies. So
right.
Really looking at that. And if you have a little inkling or a thought that it might be a scam, it usually is.
Oh, yeah.
Those messages are just not going to come out of those caliber companies looking like that. So yeah, those are some great tips. And it reminded me that most CRMs or whatever software you're using for whatever reason, e-discovery software, video, networking, whatever it is, they usually have the little help tab that you can click, and they have a knowledge base, and most of them actually provide pretty good answers to the question that you have. Even if you thought no one had thought of it, chances are someone thought of it, and there's a thread about it. And a lot of these software companies actually post little brief, like 1 or 2 minute videos on how to do, just if you just have one real specific little question. The CRM I use for my recruiting company is called Bullhorn. It's kind of an applicant tracking system and a CRM rolled into one. And you can go into the help center and just, you know, ask a really specific question. And sometimes there's a whole video that pops up, and they'll show, you know, on the screen where to go, where to click, and how to do it. And it's literally 2 minutes, and then you figured it out.
Yeah, and there's so many resources. So the thing that I always tell people is, if you have just saved an hour on your commute, instead of having to leave your house at 8 o'clock to be at work at 9, use that 8 to 9 period for yourself. You know, maybe not all of it, maybe take 30 minutes and use that to click on something different on the help file of the software programs you use the most during the day, or to watch a YouTube video, or to listen to a podcast. You know, just find something to continue your education. Most of us in eDiscovery, or the eDiscovery legal tech vertical, there's so many options for training and so many options for education that it can be overwhelming. But I'd say about 80% of it is free if you just go and look and type in a question every day, or even every other day.
That's a great idea, just to kind of check a few things out in the morning to add to your skills. Like you said, take some of that hour that you're not commuting. And if you're looking at those videos for 20 minutes, something else you can do that really has been proven to help with people focusing during the day is take some of that time and go for a walk, or exercise, or meditate.
Yes.
And get a clear head, take some time for yourself, sit outside and have your coffee, and, you know, look at the birds, or whatever makes you happy, whatever gets your body moving, gets your head clear. And, you know, taking on the day when 9 o'clock rolls around, after learning something new and being relaxed and having had some fresh air and maybe a little exercise, versus quickly, you know, taking a shower, getting the kids off to school, just dumping some coffee in a thing, and then the thermos pops off, and you don't even and you're in the car, you know, rushing. There's an accident. You're going to be late to work, and by the time you get to work, you're like, you're crazy.
Yes.
You know, the ability to be able to just kind of relax and be at home and start the day just nice and fresh. You'll be surprised how much more productive and better equipped to deal with conflicts or negotiations, not quite being as reactive, and you know, just being a little bit more calm and dealing with the different personalities, and think, well, versus react to this person, maybe I'm going to wait a few minutes, and I'm maybe going to give a suggestion, or you know, so there's a lot of benefits. Definitely.
I mean, a big part of why
yeah, it's not just the necessarily the legal tech skills that we're talking about. It's just kind of little life hacks, and you know, a lot of things you can do to really improve your career.
Definitely. Well, thank you, David. I think that we've covered quite a bit about maintaining a great work-life balance and career planning for this next phase. I've been talking to people, and some people say we're, you know, clearing out to the end of the pandemic. Others are saying, no, we're in year 2 of the pandemic and it's going to continue. So we're just, you know, we're in Marvel phase 2, although I think Marvel's in phase 4. But, you know, things change, and we've got to roll with that. And I think the tips and tricks and hacks that you've shared on career planning really will make a difference in helping everyone navigate this next phase of whatever you want to call it in 2021.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate your input as well, because not only will these help people get through the next year or two, they're really just great tips to have going forward, and things to consider for your, you know, short, medium, and long-term career goals, and even life goals. So thanks for your input. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again.